Start speaking now.
Hey Sam, starting a new job can be overwhelming, especially when you're trying to figure out how everyone communicates and works together. My first suggestion would be to observe your coworkers and pay attention to how things are usually done. Notice how people communicate with managers, handle deadlines, and work as a team. You don't have to change your personality, but understanding these unwritten rules can make it much easier to fit in. I'd also recommend making an effort to connect with your coworkers. Join them for lunch or coffee when you get the chance, and don't be afraid to start a casual conversation. Building good relationships will make you feel more comfortable and give you people you can turn to when you need help. If you're unsure about workplace expectations, ask your manager for clarification instead of making assumptions. At the same time, don't compare everything to your previous workplace or constantly point out how things were done differently there. That could give people the impression that you're unwilling to adapt. Give yourself some time, because adjusting to a new environment doesn't happen overnight. If you stay open-minded, communicate respectfully, and learn from the people around you, I'm sure you'll settle in and become much more confident at work.
Start speaking now.
A time when I made a change to improve myself was when I decided to stop staying up late every night. I had gotten into the habit of watching shows or scrolling through my phone until midnight or even later. As a result, I was constantly tired in the morning, and I found it difficult to concentrate at work. Eventually, I realized that this routine was affecting both my productivity and my mood, so I decided to do something about it. At first, changing the habit wasn't easy, because I was so used to having screen time before bed. I started by setting a fixed bedtime and putting my phone in another room about an hour beforehand. I also began reading a book or listening to relaxing music instead. It took me a couple of weeks to adjust, but gradually, falling asleep earlier became much easier. Now, I wake up feeling refreshed, I have more energy throughout the day, and I can focus much better at work. Overall, making that small change has had a surprisingly positive impact on my daily life.
Start speaking now.
In this picture, I can see a busy cafe where several customers are enjoying their drinks and spending time together. In the center, however, a woman has spilled her coffee all over the table. She is holding a napkin and appears to be trying to clean up the mess, while the older man sitting across from her is trying to help her. A server is coming over with a cloth and a spray bottle, so he will probably help clean up the mess. On the left side, 3 friends are sitting around a table, chatting and having coffee together. Behind them, a barista is preparing drinks at the counter. On the right, a young woman is working on her laptop while a man is reading a newspaper. The cafe itself looks warm and welcoming, with hanging plants, large windows, and shelves filled with cups and coffee supplies. Through the windows, I can also see people walking along the street outside, and the weather looks pleasant. Overall, most customers seem relaxed, although the spilled coffee has clearly created a bit of commotion in the middle of the cafe.
Start speaking now.
I think the server will probably come over and help the woman clean up the spilled coffee before it drips onto the floor. He may also bring her a fresh cup of coffee and some extra napkins. The older man sitting across from her will likely move the cups and other items out of the way so the table can be cleaned properly. Once the mess is taken care of, I think they'll settle down and continue enjoying their time at the cafe. Meanwhile, the other customers will probably carry on with whatever they're doing. The group on the left will continue chatting and having their drinks, while the woman with the laptop will continue working. The barista behind the counter will keep preparing orders as more customers come in. Since the weather looks pleasant, more people might stop by the cafe for a coffee or a snack. Overall, I think the small commotion will be over within a few minutes, and the cafe will quickly return to its usual relaxed atmosphere.
Start speaking now.
I totally understand why you'd rather spend your money on experiences. Traveling, going to concerts, or trying new activities can be a lot of fun, and you can definitely make some great memories. But I still think saving money is the better choice, especially in the long run. For one thing, having some money set aside gives you financial security. You never know when you might lose your job, have an unexpected car repair, or face some other emergency. If you have savings, you can deal with those situations without relying on credit cards or borrowing money. It also gives you peace of mind because you're not constantly worrying about your finances. On top of that, saving doesn't mean your money has to sit in a bank account forever. You can invest some of it and potentially grow your money over time. That could eventually help you buy a home, retire comfortably, or even travel without worrying about the cost. Experiences are great, but I'd rather build financial freedom first and enjoy those experiences later.
Start speaking now.
Hi, John. Do you have a minute? I wanted to talk to you about the tree near our property line. One of its branches has grown over into my yard, and unfortunately, it recently damaged part of my fence. I know these things can happen, especially with large trees, and I'm not trying to blame you. However, the fence will need to be repaired, and from what I've seen so far, the cost could be fairly high. I was hoping we could figure out a reasonable way to handle the repair costs together. Since the damage was caused by a tree on your property, would you be open to splitting the bill or contributing toward the repair? We could get a couple of estimates from local contractors first so we know exactly how much we're dealing with. It might also be a good idea to have the overhanging branches trimmed to prevent this from happening again. I really value having a good relationship with you as my neighbor, so I'd much rather work this out between ourselves than turn it into a bigger issue. Hopefully, we can find a solution that's fair to both of us.
Hi, I'm calling because I'd like some information about my home insurance coverage. A tree from my neighbor's property has grown over the boundary into my yard, and one of the branches recently damaged my fence. The damage is fairly significant, and I'm concerned that the repairs could be expensive. Before I arrange anything, I'd like to understand whether this type of damage is covered under my policy and what steps I should take next. Could you please let me know whether I can file a claim for the fence repair and whether I would have to pay a deductible? I'd also like to know what documents you'll need from me. I can provide photos of the damaged fence and the tree, and I can get a repair estimate from a local contractor if necessary. I'm also unsure whether I should speak to my neighbor first or whether your company would contact their insurance provider directly. I don't want to create unnecessary tension with my neighbor, so I'd like to handle everything properly. I'd really appreciate it if you could explain my options and guide me through the process.
Start speaking now.
I think public exams should be replaced with continuous assessment because one exam doesn't always give an accurate picture of a student's ability. Some students understand the material very well but struggle under pressure, while others may memorize information just before an exam and forget it soon afterward. With continuous assessment, students are evaluated through assignments, presentations, projects, quizzes, and class participation throughout the year. This gives teachers a better understanding of a student's progress and encourages students to learn consistently instead of cramming everything at the last minute. It can also help teachers identify weaknesses earlier and provide extra support before students fall too far behind. That said, continuous assessment needs to be managed carefully. If students have assignments and tests every single week, they could feel overwhelmed and stressed. Schools would need to spread assessments out and make sure the workload is reasonable. There should also be clear marking guidelines, so students are evaluated fairly, regardless of who their teacher is. In my opinion, these challenges can be addressed with proper planning. Education should focus on how well students understand and apply what they learn, not simply how well they perform during one stressful exam. For that reason, I believe continuous assessment would be a fairer and more effective approach.
Start speaking now.
Hey Liam, you won't believe what I saw at the subway station on my way to work this morning. There was a group of people doing yoga right in the middle of the station. Several colorful mats were spread across the floor, and an instructor was balancing on one leg while the others were trying to follow her movements. Some people were stretching, while one woman was sitting cross-legged and meditating. What surprised me most was how calm everyone looked, despite being in such a busy place. Trains were arriving, commuters were walking past, and people were waiting nearby, but the yoga session continued as if they were in a quiet studio. A few commuters seemed amused by what was happening, and one woman was even taking a picture with her phone. I guess it's a creative way for people to relax and get some exercise before starting their workday. Personally, I'd probably feel a little awkward doing yoga in public, but it was definitely interesting to watch. Would you ever participate in something like this?